Rinyville is a kind of place where people wave at stop signs and you hear Fort Knox artillery in the distance like far-off thunder. On June 26, the town was supposed to be celebrating a birthday, Ashley's 37th. Instead, a neighbor's phone lit up with a plea for help, a patrol car rolled to a quiet subdivision, and a home camera captured movements that prosecutors would later call deliberate. Before sunrise, the question wouldn't be who pulled the trigger. It would be why a jury that saw everything and still stopped short of murder. But that story starts long before the party. Welcome back to the Criminal Minds. Ashley Williams grew into a leader the Army noticed. She served in Iraq and Afghanistan, then a respected post at Fort Knox. She married young, raised 2 boys, and years later she met Staff Sergeant Jordan Henning. He had a complicated past. He had a divorce, a second child revealed after a brief fling, custody battles, but a fresh start seemed possible. In May 2016, they married, folded their families together, and moved into a roomy house with a big yard. From the curb, it looked like stability. Inside, friends say it felt strained. Arguments built grooves into the days. Intimacy became a fight more than a bridge. Testosterone therapy floated in the background as another variable, not a verdict. On her birthday, they tried to keep the peace. For a few hours, it worked.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ash.
And then an old friction found its spark. As guests filtered out, a small argument about cleaning tipped toward something heavier. Ashley told her teenage son to get help. He ran to Jimmy Watts, a neighbor and Jordan's friend, who stepped in and found the room electric with anger. He tried to calm it down. Instead, Jordan allegedly clamped him in a headlock and told him to go. Jimmy did. Out the door onto phone, reporting a domestic disturbance.
He asked my daughter, "Is your dad home?" And she said, "Yeah, what's going on?" She obviously recognized that he was upset. He said that my mom sent me over. She needs your dad's help. My dad is super mad at my mom, and she needs you to come over. My daughter immediately came to the stairs to the cellar and called out for us. When I came upstairs, she told me what her had said, and I did just that. I walked out the front, headed over to find out what was going on. As I did that, I commented to her, "Go get Jimmy," who was our other neighbor to the north of our house. It said, "Jimmy's already over there." So I came out the door and walked across the street through our front yard, through the ditch and over into the front yard of the Henning's house. Approached it. Jimmy Watts came out of the house. He came off the deck, because the deck lets out into the backyard. He came off the deck and around the side to the fence. And the first thing he said was, "You need to call 911.
Inside the house, Ashley, Jordan, and their 13-year-old daughter. 3 people. One of them would soon be on the floor. One of them would be holding a gun. One of them would see it all and never unsee it. What came next wasn't a mystery to detectives, because the camera didn't blink. The video jurors heard, it showed sequence, not chaos. Retrieval, reload, more shots. Neighbors heard the bursts and then silence. A white sedan slipped away into the night. 90 minutes later, and only about a mile from the house, deputies found Jordan. He apologized. He was booked, pleaded not guilty, and sat on a $1 million bond while prosecutors framed the narrative they wanted jurors to see. Choice, not panic. Intention, not impulse. A soldier not afraid of his wife, but afraid of what a report might do to his career. So the state aimed high. First-degree murder isn't a hunch. It's a theory you can stand on in court. The state pointed to Camera's cold choreography. He went for the weapon, came back, and shoot again. They said this was not a blind rage, but a path walked step by step. On motive, they sketched fear. Fear of consequences if Ashley reported domestic violence. He will lose his career, lose his standing, and lost control. In that telling, the shooting wasn't sudden. It was simpler and darker. Remove the problem. Jurors heard that story and watched the same tape. Many observers expected a first-degree verdict.
Storm clouds gathered over the Henning household, and another storm tore through that house that took her life. As soon as her friends were gone, Jordan Henning came in, and you'll see and hear, because this storm too was caught on camera. Surveillance cameras around the house will show you how Jordan Henning raged into the kitchen and begins yelling. He screams at her, he yells at her, "You never listen to me, you don't love me." He's berating their son. It gets to the point, you'll see, she yells for the kids to go to their rooms and close their doors. You'll see and hear how one of the children ran next door to the neighbors. You'll see how the neighbors came to try and intervene and calm him down. And how he threatens them. And unfortunately, you're going to see, after all of the turmoil, all of the threats, you're going to see Ashley Henning sitting in a chair. And Jordan Henning shooting her as she sits there pleading with him to put the gun down. You'll see how she tries to get up and run. He follows, stands over her and shoots her. Gets another magazine and comes back and stands over her and executes her. And you'll see how he spits on her body as he walks away. And you'll hear how he does a countdown. He tells her, "This is going to end in death tonight." You're going to hear him tell her it's all her fault. Now, I don't know what kind of explanation or excuse one can come up for that. But when you've heard all of the evidence and you've seen and heard the video, I'm going to ask you to find Jordan Henning guilty of murder.
But the defense took the jurors somewhere else. Jordan's team argued extreme emotional disturbance, not a meticulous plan, an eruption after years of verbal and physical conflict. They painted a marriage frayed by resentment and rejection, said Ashley outdrank Jordan at work and wielded it at home.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. Good morning. Now, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Henning was an outstanding soldier. He served his country honorably, both in the United States and overseas. He placed himself in danger. He served our country and served our country to protect us. Tragically, on this date, and this is a man, the evidence will show, no criminal record, no brushes with the law, never committed a crime in his life. But on this day, he snapped. He lost it. He went over the edge. He killed his wife in his home. The home had a security system, which he helped install. And so the shooting is on video. The shooting is awful. But having said that the video is awful, ladies and gentlemen, Jordan Henning, as I said, broke. He's not the first person to break, and he broke. There's no other explanation. He went over the edge, and he went over the edge for a variety of reasons. One, he was embroiled in a marriage that was horrible. The proof will show that there was physical abuse in the marriage and had been for years. Grabbing of the testicles to the point where he was in pain. Mental abuse. You're worth nothing. You're nothing at all. You're useless. You're worthless. You're not a man. It was day after day, year after year. You're nothing. He had a condition where he had to take testosterone, and the repeated remarks. You're less than a man.
They brought in a forensic psychologist to explain how a mind under pressure can narrow until judgment collapses. Character witnesses from Fort Knox called Jordan respectful, not violent. The 13-year-old testified off camera. Then a twist. Prosecutors said the teen had newly disclosed that Jordan abused Ashley. The judge kept that out, calling it unfairly prejudicial at that late stage. Jordan testified himself. Try and pull the jury into his head in those minutes before the shots.
They were taking glasses down to the basement from the cars. We had a lot of stuff, a lot of that stuff. And then I remember hearing her screaming my name. I was just thinking, what did I do? What did I do now? And she was saying about this slip and slide that we talked about and the kids earlier that day, that, hey, if you're going to bring it out, we all agree, me, her, and him, hey, if he's going to bring this out, he needs to put it away. She wanted to do it for him, and I wasn't okay with that. Like, no, we agreed on this. Like, this is, his parents were supposed to be united, and, I was upset at her for, just overriding this. She overruled me on everything, it felt like, and so I started yelling at her, and he's up in the shower. And he's on a whole other floor that they're playing his computer, playing his Xbox, and he was in the water, and so I'm yelling loud, and yes, I was upset, and I was yelling, and we go outside, and I'm trying to show him, like, hey, this is where I was going into the drain spout on this slip and slide, because it would collect water on the end of it, and she's out there with us, and that's, I kept telling him, he's like, where is it? Because it's getting dark. And I was like, it's right here. I was like, I was frustrated. And that's when she grabbed me around my walls and started smacking me. And I started telling her, let go, stop, please, like, let go. And I'm yelling at her. And she's pulling me from where the slip and slide was set up over to kind of the porch area. And as she's pulling me, I went to reach out for the banister, and I didn't grab the banister. And somehow he ended up in between us, and I heard him scream. I had finally gotten a hold of her wrist, and I pried her off of me. And I restrained her wrist up by her head, and I said, stop. And she had told him to go get Jimmy. We're arguing, and Jimmy comes over, starts screaming at me, get off of her. And when I finally let up and let go of her wrist and stood up, he shoved me down onto my steps. And I just remember thinking, like, dude, you don't even know what's going on. Like, you don't understand even how we got to this point. Like, what are you attacking me for? I wasn't sitting on top of her hitting her. I wasn't hurting her. I was just holding her wrist down. And when he shoved me down, she told him to run, and I don't know, I just took off after him. Like, I was upset, I was mad, and I had his headlock, and I just held him there until he would stop, just stop, and finally he was tapping my leg, and I let him go, and he was like, I'm grabbing my gun, and I don't know, I was scared. I took off as fast as I could upstairs to my room where I had my pistol. And I remember grabbing my pistol and my spare magazine and just thinking, like, this is how I'm going to die. Like, my friend is going to kill me. And I ran back downstairs, and I didn't know where he went. I didn't know if he had left the property. I didn't know. And so I'm outside, and I was just mad. I was scared. I don't know. And I just remember seeing him and Chris Becker and Chris's truck pull up, and Chris Becker and him were coming over, and I saw that he had something in his hand, and it looked like a gun. And then I don't know. A lot of it's a blur. I was mad, and I was just upset, and my wife had just attacked me yet again, and I didn't know what else she would do, and I
The verdict stunned almost everyone watching. After about 4 hours, the jury chose first-degree manslaughter and recommended 20 years. The max shock rippled across the gallery. At sentencing, Ashley's cousin, a Marine Chief Warrant Officer, delivered words that cut through the room.
I've served this country for almost 22 years. 22 years in the Marine Corps. I've deployed 7 times to a combat zones. 9 times total deployed. And this is the justice that America gives me. Unthinkable, unspeakable, it's disgusting. Thank you, John. Cowards. Every single one of you.
Any cross-examination?
Every single one of you are cowards.
Later, Jordan tried to reduce the term under a Kentucky statute for defendants who were victims of DV by the deceased. In a May 21, 2025 hearing, the judge said no. The surveillance video didn't match Jordan's story, and other evidence, including adult site activity introduced to rebut his claims, undercut the abuse narrative. He must serve 85% before parole eligibility, and a court-martial could still follow. As the judge finished, the courtroom applauded. A small sound for a large grief. Still, one thread kept tugging at the community. At the sentencing hearing, Ashley's family said a tipster claimed Jordan led a double life. A thread they believe could explain motive. They alleged the person went to police and got turned away. That claim wasn't litigated at trial. Rules keep jurors focused on what directly ties the crime. But the allegation lingers because people sense gaps between what the law can admit and what a community knows, or thinks it knows. In the end, 3 things are unshakable. A camera that showed steps jurors couldn't ignore, a legal strategy that bent those steps into ED, and a verdict that will be debated every time someone mentions this case over coffee in Rinyville. Trials don't measure outrage. They measure evidence. The tape gave prosecutors a ladder to murder. The defense gave jurors a bridge to manslaughter. When those 2 stories collided, the panel chose intent's smaller cousin. Responsibility, but not premeditation. Was that justice? Or did the law miss what the tape really meant? If you were on that jury, where would you land after watching footage and hearing both sides? Drop your take below. I'll be in the comments reading.